Hey guys, it's Kelly. Hey, I'm just going to do a quick voiceover for this art journal page. And I use black gesso, not something I usually do, and I've had a lot of people say, hey, do you use black gesso? And yes, I do, and I love it. It's a little bit harder to work with, but I kind of like it. And I decided I would go for some kind of evening thing, so I used my tree stencil or template, Crafter's Workshop, one of my absolute favorites. You guys have seen me use this a lot. So before I could lay it down, after I gessoed my paper, it started bending and buckling up, so I just had to bend it and twist it in the opposite direction. So, and what I did was I just used some paper towel to mask off the ground and just tore it in a random kind of hilly thing that I wanted to be in the background. And then I got out my white Dylusions ink spray. And I sprayed too much of the white. I'm still figuring that out. This is only the second time I've used it. And with what I was looking for, I should have slowed down. I sprayed way too much. I should have stopped at the first 4 sprays. Because it wound up just being too much. I still, went with it, but because I wanted it to be kind of evening, and it's way too white. But I just went with it. So in all the ink that was on my stencil, I sprayed it with some water to wash it off, and then I have some little cards and things that I've been using to sup up ink, and that one turned out really cool. Look how cool that is when I put it has Dylusions on it already, so they all mix together, and turned out really cool. I really like that one. And then I had another disaster art journal page that I did a long time ago, and I just sopped it up with that too. It didn't stick too much to that one because it's all Mod Podged and everything, but I used as much of it as I could without wasting it. I hate to waste ink, but I don't stress over it. So there, all I did was take a duct tape roll and trace it and cut it out. And then I put my stencil back down because I wanted to have the moon show up behind the tree, not in front of it, for obvious reasons. So I put the stencil back on and then just made my own little moon stencil. I had no idea if this was going to work, but I decided to go with lemon zest. It wound up being a little too yellow, but I just committed to this page and just had it done. Decided I didn't have to absolutely love it. Didn't have to be perfect, but I do like it. So, and it's easier for me to just use a couple little strips of masking tape to hold it down. And that white paper towel is just to cover my hand. So there it is. Looks pretty cool. But it was too yellow for me. So I dried it real good first. And once it dried, it kind of lightened up a little bit. But it was still a little too yellow for me. So I put the stencil back on and tried a little more. I should have left it alone. But, but it just felt a little too yellow for a moon. Looked more like a sun. So I needed to kind of gray it up. So I used the black marble. And I sprayed that on, and I said, whoops, I don't like that. And then I sprayed some of the white on. And then I kind of got those craters and that gray effect of the moon. I kind of like that a little bit better. Still a little bit too yellow, but I went with it. And I dried it off real good. And then I just went through my stamps. That's a TPC stamp set. I've used that before. And I just had a couple different sizes of birds. Wanted it to look like one was close up and one was far away. So I needed different sizes. And those were the 2 that I came up with. And it gave the page a little bit of dimension, like some things were closer and some things were farther away. I still kind of struggle with that effect But I'm not an artist, never went to school or anything like that. I'm all just self-taught and YouTube taught by all you guys watching your videos too. Just figuring it out as I go. So I'm just placing them, figuring out where I want to put them. And no, there we go. That's what I want. So that's archival ink, because you definitely want to use that when you're working with dilutions, otherwise it's just going to mix in. And I just slapped those stamps down, man. I went for it. But the only thing I didn't like about those birds is that you could see the background through their body, which is fixable, and I fix it, and I'll show you how I do that. But down at the bottom, those are my gelatos or my gel sticks, and I'm just using brown, and then like the flesh tone. And then I decide to use the metallic gold because it winds up being not so metallic, just more toning colors down. So I just rubbed it all in. I needed to have a little hint of brown in the background there. And then I used a baby wipe to kind of smear it a little bit more. It was a little too stripy. And once I used that, it gave it a really cool effect to where the gesso kind of came through. It was really cool. I didn't wipe it all off. I just smeared it. And it wound up looking cool. Can't really see it too well in the video. And a lot of this video, I apologize, guys. I'm way too low on my desk. I thought I was in screen, but I missed a lot of it. But that's a soft charcoal pen, and I'm just coloring in the birds so you can't see the background through them. And real lightly. Just filling them in. And then what I didn't record is also on the birds I added reflections, really mild reflections. By the time it was done, I don't think you can tell, but in the end there'll be still pictures, and you might not be able to tell on those either. So, and I just extended some of the branches. They just looked incomplete. So I just used that same charcoal pen just to extend them up to the tip of the page where I thought it looked appropriate. Chrome oxide green. You guys couldn't see it because the lighting is so awful. That's a really heavy-bodied paint. Who's the maker of that one? I think it's Master's Touch, I think. Yeah, Master's Touch. You can get it from Hobby Lobby is where I got that one. It was on sale. And that's a really, really rough brush because I just want to put like some bushes in there. So that's just a little bit of white dilutions that I added to it just to tone it down. It's a little too dark, and I'm just dabbing it on there just to make it look like bushes. So just real light-handed with that, and wound up giving it a really cool effect, giving the page some dimension. And then I cleaned off my brush. I think that's my downtown right there. And then I grabbed my white paint. Just cheap Walmart brand white paint. I just need a little bit, and I used the same brush. It still was a little bit wet. And I just added some reflections there. And again, real light-handed, and just dabbed it on there. And it's real bright there, but once I dry brush it, it blends it in a little bit nicer. So, and there's the dry brush. And again, I was just dabbing it just to make it look a little softer. I think back now, and I probably should have used a real muted yellow to do that. But, you know, hindsight is always very clear. And that is burnt umber. And a little bit of water. Oh, there's my little caption. Forgot I did that. So just one little bitty squirt of water with the burnt umber, and then just mixed it with my finger. And what I'm doing is just adding real subtle branches to the bushes, because they're the kind that you can kind of see through, and I thought that would kind of help make it look like the bushes were a little closer to you and the tree was further away in the scene. I'm sure there's better ways to do that, but that was all I can think of. And it's what I went with. So, and after I put them in there, they were they need to be muted down a little bit, so I just used a wet rag and just kind of dabbed them so they weren't so striking. But I just printed that off on my printer on some regular copy paper. It says I wish I could fly. And I just tore them and then inked them. There's no special, I didn't use any distress thing, I just tore them. And then inked them with archival just around the edges. And arranged them and glued them down. I cut a lot of the hemming and hawing out of this for you guys. Kept it to about 13 minutes, so that's good. And I just used my 3M quick dry glue, one of my favorite adhesives. Just glue them down. Little words floating in the sky. And there you have it. I decided to be done. Thumbs up. Good to go. And there's the still picture. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching. I've been wanting to do an art journal page for a while, and I challenged myself to work with black gesso, and this is what I came up with. And hope you guys like it. Thanks.